Many of us were expecting Prince Andrew to kind of take this to the court to fight to clear his name. He said that he would cooperate with the FBI. Now we've got this, this about turn, if you will, this entire U-turn. Why do you think he might have done this?
Any civil claim can be settled, and most civil claims in the United States are settled. A claimant brings a claim, they're seeking compensation, damages perhaps, they may be seeking an apology, they're seeking recognition, whatever they're seeking, if they can get it without going to court, it saves a great deal of time, money and risk. And it's not surprising to me that this case has settled. You may say that it's a surprising time. You might have thought that it would wait until both sides had exchanged their evidence, both sides had exchanged documents, both sides had had the opportunity to ask questions of one another. But nevertheless, we can infer that negotiations have been going on in the background for some time. We don't know for how long, and clearly the parties have agreed on a deal.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the timing, and you say that actually we might have expected it to be later. On the contrary, I would have expected it to be sooner if this was the intention. Why go through all of what we've been seeing and hearing just to arrive at this point?
Well, that's a very fair point, isn't it? Because David Boies, the lawyer acting for Virginia Giuffre, said recently that they had offered Prince Andrew's side the opportunity of mediation some time ago, and that this was turned down. On the other hand, it sometimes waits until you see whether the other side is willing to go ahead, willing to issue proceedings, as happened in this case, pressing for evidence to be taken, and that tends to concentrate people's minds, doesn't it? It makes them think this is real and it's not going away, and it perhaps gives them an incentive to settle a case.
Yeah, just help us understand. There's a point being discussed at the moment about the NDA, whether or not there's an NDA attached to this outcome that would prevent Ms. Giuffre from going out and sharing her story. What's your view on that?
We don't know. I would have thought it's very likely because it's quite clear that the two sides are not willing to say any more today than they are in this statement, which you've broadcast, and that's clearly an agreement between them. So you would have thought that he would have requested a non-disclosure agreement from her as part of the settlement. There's no mention of it in the deal, but it might well be part of the formal legal documents which are going to be filed within the next month. He has clearly agreed this wording, which we can look at in detail, and he clearly wouldn't want her to say any more against him. I suppose he might even be able to take proceedings against her if she does, and perhaps the settlement is arranged so that she doesn't get all the money at once and it's paid over a period of time, provided she keeps silent. We don't know. But yes, you would have thought there would be a non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah, because the reason I ask is one of the lawyers that were acting on behalf of some of Jeffrey Epstein's victims was speaking to one of my former earlier presenters, should I say, and she was saying that having looked at this, she would have expected if there was an NDA that it would have been listed at this point already.
It doesn't have to be, because an agreement is an agreement, and one of the points about a non-disclosure agreement is that you don't even disclose the existence of it, let alone what it says. In certain circumstances, it's a private agreement between the two sides. So the fact that it's not mentioned in this court statement certainly doesn't establish that it doesn't exist.
Yeah, and what would you say, very briefly, if you will, there's a lot of people out there that are kind of saying, right, this definitely proves that he's guilty. Obviously, Prince Andrew says he absolutely isn't. Many people, though, are kind of inferring, because they've reached a settlement, they are saying that that indicates guilt. What is the legal position when it comes to that?
There is nothing in this agreement in which he admits to any misbehaviour with Virginia Giuffre. He accepts that she has suffered as an established victim of abuse, but he doesn't say that he abused her. He pledges to demonstrate his regret for his association with Jeffrey Epstein, but he doesn't say he had any association with Virginia Giuffre. There are all sorts of reasons why people settle. There are all sorts of reasons why people bring claims, and the fact that this has settled doesn't mean any more than it says. On the other hand, You don't pay a lot of money, and I think there are two distinct payments here. There's a settlement, the sum of which is not being disclosed, and a substantial donation to a charity in support of victims' rights. You don't pay that sort of money unless you want a case to go away.